Hi. So I just wanted to ramble about, as the year comes to an end, the Young Bucks' year this year, and I am of the opinion the Young Bucks are probably the greatest tag team of all time. Shock for an AEW meat rider. But also, just I think this year's been they haven't had the most matches for them especially, but they've had such a good year. And I know there's still time left, and they're leading up for some stuff too. But I just want to go on about how good their year's been. I think the start of the year, they started off in New Japan for a small period. They won the New Japan titles, and then that kind of just fell to the wayside. And then they returned. They returned to AEW because they went on like a leave, and they returned to cost Swerve, which was the biggest heel move they could have done at the time. And the obvious thing that they lost the EVP status at All In against Swerve and Ospreay in one of the greatest tag team matches ever. And the main thing everyone's going to talk about the Bucks this year is the Broke Bucks gimmick. And I genuinely think that's the funniest thing I've seen in wrestling. And it's just how dumb that original jobber entrance was. The one where it was just in the ring already, that was the best one. But all of them were excellent. Mr. Instant Replay, Slick Nick, Max and Jeremy, Bill and Bob, Rod and Todd, stuff like that. The music, the pyro being ridiculous. And then the main one, I think the best of them all, besides the original Jobber one, was the Mbop one. The one of Forbidden Door. I have bias with that, but I just think that's hilarious. I really love that. But the matches this year, I mean, the main ones of note are the one against Swerve and Ospreay at All In. That was excellent. You had the match against... Well, they were in the Anarchy in the arena, which was excellent. And they were also in the Forbidden Door Steel Cage. That was another fun thing they had going on with the John Moxley Death Riders. That was hilarious too. Because they were just... It was the Broke Buck gimmick all over, so they just needed the help. So it was just dumb. And the main thing that's happened recently for the Bucks was obviously they turned face. They reunited with Kenny. That was the Elite back, and Okada turned on them, which was heartbreaking because I love Okada and the Elite. I think they're hilarious, so it's kind of a shame, but I kind of like it. For me, one of the funniest things this year that doesn't get a lot of credit is the stuff with Ricochet. Oh my God, how they never continued that. I think Ricochet should have joined the Elite. And I've got a friend who agrees with me, Bishop, and oh my God, I think it's hilarious. Ricochet was, bear in mind, at this point, Ricochet wasn't as serious as he was. Well, he's not serious at all, but the guy was just waddling about and just somehow winning. And the guy was like, yeah, I did that on purpose. And the Bucks were like, who is this guy? We gotta listen to this guy. They believed it. It was just the comedic genius. Ricochet was putting one of the Bucks' hair over his head, pretending he had the hair. Oh my God, it was, honestly, I hope they run that back if the Bucks ever turn heel again, because that was some of the funniest stuff they've done this year, and that's saying something because the main thing about the Bucks this year is just funny. They've been hilarious, ridiculously entertaining, but also, they've had some important segments. Obviously, the build of All In, but they had a huge part with Hangman, because at the start of the Hangman stuff leading into All In, when he was still, trying to be a face, but he wasn't. The Bucks were attacking Swerve. They hit the BTE trigger they did on Swerve Dynasty to cost him the match against Mox, which, again, people thought Swerve had that locked. Everyone looks back, people won't remember that, but during that time, everyone thought Swerve was winning that, and I didn't personally. There's no evidence, but I just didn't have that feeling. I was shocked, but I don't know. I just thought Mox was winning. It was too easy of a layup. And with the Swerve thing, they said it was for Hangman, and they had a backstage segment where Swerve was believing it, and then Hangman tells the Bucks, I don't want nothing to do with it. Leave Swerve alone, and Swerve hears it, which obviously leads the seeds to let Swerve and Hangman actually talk and, help Hangman win the belt. And that, the Bucks have had, again, that's a big deal. Obviously, the EVP stuff, losing that was a huge deal too, because it kind of just shifts their characters into these guys who are just annoying and pompous to just the lowest form of the barrel, who everyone just kicks at, laughs at, kicks while they're down. It's hilarious. But the big thing also was bringing back being the Elite. Because when they lost the EVP titles, they couldn't call it the EVP trigger. That was a whole little small few-week arc for a few weeks. They didn't know what to call the finish, and it was costing them matches. So they decided they revived being the Elite beforehand, and they called it the BTE trigger again, which was great. And that's where kind of the books are now. They had the stuff with the Don Callis family where they were working with Don Callis, but Don Callis wanted them to join. Okada's obviously in the family, so that was a big driving factor, leading Okada to turn when they declined. And that's where the books kind of are now. And yeah, just as a year, I just think, yeah, not the most important matches. Oh yeah, they also, Jurassic Express reunited because of the books, because Jack Perry obviously had turned on the books due to them not really contacting him in the Elite, which was obviously brought back to the fold via being the Elite. And all in all, I just think the books have had, I don't want to say, because as long as I've watched AEW, I've always loved the books. I think they're excellent. I think they're hilarious. Always have entertaining, but this year specifically. But it feels like this year they had a real shot in the arm, and they're just like, I don't think they'll get the credit for how good they've been this year, especially entertaining-wise. And the matches too, like, again, that they had to team up with FTR at one point. I just remembered. That's insane. But also, you had like a match against Brodita, which was excellent. I remember the match versus the Guns was good too. And obviously the Ospreay match, the Ospreay and Swerve tag match at all in, I can't really understate how good that match was. Debatably match of the night for actual match. But the books will probably get lost in the shuffle for how good of a year they've had. And I kind of just want to, acknowledge how good of a year they really have had. Especially for, the books have a really famous saying where once you've seen one Young Bucks match, you've seen them all. And that is a true statement. However, just as a tag team and just as a on-screen characters, dynamic with characters, whatever, they never get old for me. They never get stale. And I understand some people have a different opinion. But for me, I just love them. And I really think the day they go, the very second they announce they're retiring, the world's going to feel it, especially AEW. Obviously, preparing for that, it's a different conversation. But just as characters, influences to the business, stuff like that. And we all know how, much the Young Bucks have done. Just listen to them go on for 5 minutes. But in general, they're excellent. This is one of the best years I've seen from the books, personally. They're just not, I don't know, there's just something about the books that, I feel like the books' level of quality is always so high, right? And that's kind of expected for their legacy, their reputation, stuff like that. But it kind of gets lost of how good they are. I thought the stuff with Josh Alexander was great, where they were basically getting bullied, leading to the turn. I thought that was fun. The promos they've had, not even invigorating promos, because they've got being the Elite, so they don't really get that many promos, but just segments in general. And it's like small visual stuff. Well, you can't really go with talking about the Bucks as 25 without talking about what they've done on being the Elite. And I really think that has helped them a lot. Not because, it's people got more interest in the books. I don't think that's really the point. I think it's just more from, you get to see them going to Vegas and gambling all the money they've won when they're broke, and then it cuts back to them in the ring. It's great. Stuff with the Kenny stuff. Recently, the one we watched with Kenny, literally before, an hour ago I watched it. And just, all in all, I really want people to just kind of sit back and, when looking on the wrestlers of the year and matches of the year soon, because it's around that time now. And I just want people to kind of go, the books have had an excellent year, just all in all. And yeah, not everyone's going to be, obviously I'm an AEW fan, and that kind of tells you my interest more. But when you compare WWE to AEW and all the other promotions, people will go, oh, you like more promos, oh, you like more matches. The books have nailed both, and that's what I think is really important. And again, we're used to the books' quality and consistency of said quality. That kind of gets lost. And I don't want that to happen. I've repeated that a few times, and I'm annoying, I get that, but still, the books have been great, and just, again, that jobber gimmick's hilarious. I know they're still broke technically now, but that's going to come to an end, but honestly, the amount of mileage they got after that one joke was insane. I thought that was excellent. So that's my real just ramble about the Young Bucks this year. I think they've been excellent. I think they've been ridiculously funny. And just all in all, solid, as you expect, ridiculously good. And just wanted to give that, praise where it's due, in my opinion. What's your opinion of the Young Bucks' year this year? And what's your favourite jobber entrance that they had? Because for me, the first one where they're just in the ring was the funniest. But the Mbop was hilarious. That was the funniest for me. I loved that. The best. Like, it was the most, everything was put together, but all of them were excellent. What a gimmick, honestly. What a year.